Chapter 5, Part 2, still the 8th of January. Rafe's house, Surfside Street, Dolphin Point, 3:03 p.m. "OK," said Bogus as we stood outside Uncle Rafe's house. It was a modern two-storey house that he moved into a few years back after my auntie, his wife, died. He ran his drafting business there now. "Your uncle must be loaded," said Bogus, looking around at the mansions of Dolphin Point. "So, what's the plan?" "I'm going to go inside and have a look for the envelope. I know it had my name on it, and I'm sure it's got the drawings in it that Dr. Edmondson told me about. I just hope Rafe came by and left it here. We've got a good 2 hours at least, by the time they meet with the solicitor in the city and then make it home again." Bogus nodded, slightly distracted by a nearby bright yellow Ferrari. "Some woman rang me earlier," I continued. "She said she looked after Dad when he was here in the hospice and that she's got something to show me. I agreed to meet her tomorrow night in Memorial Park." "Tomorrow night? Who is she?" "Someone called Jennifer Smith." "Someone called Jennifer Smith?" Bogus laughed. "I don't know, dude. Are you sure you should go?" "I've got to." "Yeah, but it could be a set-up. Don't forget your Dad's warnings. He mentioned a dangerous woman in his letter, remember?" "I know. The woman he met at the historical conference in Ireland." "That's the one. What if it's her? What will you do?" "Run like hell," I joked. "Sounds dodgy to me. I'd come with you, but I'm supposed to be working." When he wasn't studying or working on electronics, Bogus was helping his uncle and his mother, who were cleaning contractors. Sometimes he'd take on jobs instead of his mum when her back was playing up. "Don't worry, I'll be right," I said. I seemed to be making a lot of promises lately that I really wasn't sure I could keep. "Right now, I need you to be the outside man, here," I said, pointing at the entrance to Rafe's house. "Keep your eyes open, try and stay out of sight, and message me if I need to get out, OK? I really don't want anyone catching me." I threw my backpack over the iron gate and then quickly climbed up and over. 3:10 p.m. I slipped into the house through the back sliding doors. I'd borrowed the key from Mum's dressing table. It felt strange being there, alone in the empty house. It was such an awesome place. I wondered why Rafe would never have made us feel welcome. I'd only been over a couple of times, but the house would have been perfect for Sunday barbecues and backyard cricket, especially when Dad was around. 3:13 p.m. The smell of Rafe's cigars was so thick that it was as if he was there in the next room. You'd have to feel lonely in a big empty house like this, I thought. Doubts started to kick in again. Maybe Rafe really was trying to protect me, but why wouldn't he talk to me about it? If I was old enough to take up Dad's work, whatever it was he needed me to do, surely I didn't need Rafe treating me like a kid. I couldn't make up my mind about him. I started my search through the house, going straight for the kitchen. I was relieved to see the oranges there in a bowl on the table. The canvas bag, now empty, sat on a nearby stool. I opened drawers, felt around above the fridge, looked in all the cupboards. Nothing. I headed next to the huge office where Rafe worked at his angled drafting board. I looked around at his desk, his computer, the photocopier and the printer perched along the low counter. All I found were files containing receipts and orders for house plans and drafting paperwork. I made a quick check of the piles of paper on his desk, and when I saw the name Ormond written in Rafe's handwriting on a half-hidden sheet of paper, I immediately pulled it out. This is what he found. The Ormond riddle? What was that about? There were so many things in our family that might have been considered riddles. Like the mysterious disease that had rapidly destroyed my dad, tangling all the connecting lines in his brain, or the run of tragedy and bad luck we'd had since his death. The warning about the Ormond singularity and the fact that someone had deliberately sabotaged the fishing boat. The failure of my life jacket. The break-in. Puh, more like the Ormond curse. I turned my attention to 3 big red-lidded plastic storage boxes. I rifled through them but found only old botany books flagged with notes and diagrams and more of Rafe's drafting papers. The other downstairs rooms didn't take long. Under the red lid of another plastic box were Rafe's personal stuff and more books on flowering plants and ferns. Dad had told me that Rafe studied botany at university years ago, but I never realised how into it he was. 3:20 p.m. I crept upstairs and looked around. Rafe's bedroom was right at the back of the house, overlooking the garden. Before going in there, I searched the other 2 bedrooms without luck. They looked and smelled as if they hadn't been opened in months. In Rafe's room, I started with the wardrobe and found lots of his jackets hanging in an orderly row. All the pockets were empty. Next, I checked his chest of drawers, but once again I found nothing. There was no sign of the envelope anywhere. What could he have done with it, I wondered? What if he still had it with him and this whole sneaking in thing had been a waste of time? I had to keep moving. All that was left to search were his 2 bedside drawers. One was piled with history books with some medical bills sitting on top. The drawer beneath revealed only handkerchiefs, a half-used box of cigars and a travel guide. I looked over at the other bedside drawer, my last hope. Once I'd checked that, I'd be out of there. 3:29. Text message. Get out now. Was Bogus joking? Surely Rafe and Mum would still be at the solicitor's. I ran along the hallway and looked out of the window. Rafe was walking up the driveway. Immobilised, I stood still, my mind frantically trying to work out what to do. If I bolted, I might just have made it down and out the back doors before he got upstairs. But if I did that, I would never know what might lie in the unsearched drawer. I ran back down the hall to Rafe's bedroom. I had to find out. I fell to my knees and wrenched the drawer open. And there it was. The envelope was addressed to me, with the name of the hospice in the top left-hand corner. I quickly snatched it up. I needed to run, but I stopped, immobilised again, staring at what I'd found lying underneath the envelope. I'd never seen one so close before. Carefully, I lifted it out, mesmerised by its blue-black steeliness. It was so much heavier than I'd imagined. The weight of it and the 4-digit serial number punched in the left side made me pretty sure it was no replica. What would Rafe need this for? Get a move on, I told myself, and turned back to the envelope, noticing that it had already been opened. It looked thinner than when I'd seen it before. Inside, as I suspected, was the letter from the neurologist, but no drawings. There was a noise downstairs. Rafe was already in the house. I stuffed the letter back in the envelope. I hoped Rafe would stay in the living room so I could sneak out the front door. I strained to listen to his footsteps so I could tell where he was and what he might be doing. But then I heard his heavy limp coming up the stairs. Desperately I looked round. There was no way I could get out. If I ran down the hall, I'd collide with him at the top of the stairs. I had to hide. I shoved the envelope back in the drawer and closed it. The only place that offered some cover for me was the narrow area between the wall and the other side of the bed. I hurtled over and dropped to the floor, trying to squeeze myself under the bed. It was too low, and there was no way I was going to fit, so I just lay there, flat on the floor, pressed close to the dusty carpet, praying that if he came into his bedroom he wouldn't see me. I held my breath and tried to calm my pounding heart. Louder and louder his footsteps sounded until I knew he was in the room, and then, through the narrow gap between the base of the bed and the carpet, I saw his black shoe and the bandage on his other foot. I tried to make myself even smaller and flatter. What was he doing? A tickle of dust in my nose made me twitch. I couldn't afford to sneeze, not now. I pressed my lips together, too scared to breathe. And what I'd seen in Rafe's bedside drawer a moment ago made my anxiety burn so much stronger. Uncle Rafe seemed to just stand there. He was taking something from the bedside table. I hoped it wasn't my envelope. I watched the black shoe and the bandaged foot turn away as Rafe walked across the carpet towards the door. As he vanished through it, I heard something small fall on the bed. He'd thrown something back in the room. The footsteps descended the staircase. I realised I'd been holding my breath and exhaled in relief. I waited until I heard the front door open and close again. Slowly I crawled out. There was a key on the bed. It had a black tag and looked like the key to a front door. It was familiar, but I couldn't remember why. I picked it up and put it in my pocket and then turned back to check the bedside drawer again. The bill that had been sitting on top of the history books was gone. It must have been what Rafe had come back for. I opened the drawer again, expecting to find the envelope gone too, but it was still there. It was then I noticed that something else was missing. 3:44 p.m. Why didn't you stop him? He nearly found me in there. I dragged Bogus out from the corner of the garden. He'd been hiding behind a bushy tree. He was walking up the path before I even noticed him. You said he'd be gone for ages. What was he doing back here anyway? Must have forgotten a couple of things. He picked them up and went out again. He dropped this. I held up the key. What does it open? Not sure. Well, he's gone now, said Bogus, heading towards the city again. You look like rubbish. Did you find the envelope? I found it, addressed to me. The letter from Dad's doctor is in there, but the drawings are missing. You won't believe what else I found in there. I took a deep breath. My uncle has a gun. 3:49 p.m. Bogus blinked at me. A gun? Why? What would he have a gun for? I don't know, but he took it with him. I'm telling you, you can't trust that guy. I'm going back inside though. Will you wait here for me? 3:57 p.m. I went straight back to the bedroom, and this time I took the letter from the envelope and hurried downstairs to the photocopier. We first met Dr. Edmondson when Dad was flown back from Ireland and admitted to the neurological clinic. Later, when they moved Dad to the hospice, Dr. Edmondson visited him every day, still hoping to unravel the mystery and diagnose the deadly virus. This is the letter in the envelope. St. Luke's Hospice. Dear Cal, when we were cleaning out the room after your father's death, a staff member found these drawings and remembered how Tom had insisted you should see them. This nurse had been able to communicate with him in a very special way. I've been meaning to send them on to you ever since. I must apologise for having delayed so long. I would have given them to your uncle earlier, but I'm ashamed to say that when he was here making the final sad arrangements, I couldn't find them. They were stuck in a file that I've only just now sorted through. I believe they were the last drawings your father was able to do before the disease completely destroyed his motor coordination. These drawings were very important to your father, and he wanted you to have them. He would have known what they meant, even if he could only convey the meaning in this displaced way. I'm sure he hoped you'd be able to work out what he was trying to say. Again, my apologies for keeping these drawings for so long. I know they will be very precious to you and your family. In a way, they are your father's last gift to you all. If you can work out what they mean, I'm sure they'll be a very great blessing. Tom was a fine man, a great photographer, and outstanding journalist. You can always be very proud of him. My best wishes to your mother and the rest of the family, Ned Edmondson. A nurse. Was it Jennifer Smith? I looked up from the letter, recalling how the doctor had explained things to us last year. Tom can still recall on abstract concepts or ideas that in his mind are related to what he wants to convey, even if we don't know what the connections are, he had said. He's lost the usual ways, speaking and writing, and we don't quite know why this is. Your dad isn't going crazy. He's using whatever brain connectors the virus has left him, and it's just like a code we can't always understand. Just yesterday, when Tom wanted a book, he drew his reading glasses. It's like he can't come directly to what he wants, but he can draw something related to what he's trying to say, something at least 1 or 2 steps removed from the actual object. I had to find those drawings and work out what they meant. I pulled out the key that I'd picked up from the bed and stared at it. I knew I'd seen it somewhere before. My sense that Dad needed to tell me something in those last few weeks returned in full force. In the days before he died, with Mum and Gabby sitting close by, softly talking to him and holding his hand, I would sometimes climb right up onto the bed and lie beside him, my head on his chest, listening to his heart beating. In those moments, I had the strongest sense he was trying to tell me something, trying to tap it out, something urgent, a warning. The words on the page blurred as tears began to fill my eyes, but I had to hold back. I had a job to do. I replaced the letter in the envelope and hurried upstairs, putting it back where I found it. I stared again at the space where the gun had been. What would Rafe have done with the drawings? And what did he need the gun for? Did he need protection, or did somebody else? Well, you'll have to listen to next time to find out the answers to that.